AITAH for leaving when my GF asked for open QPR/poly relationship, or was the whole relationship an illusion that I couldn't see? Me, 34M, and what I thought was my 41F girlfriend broke up. We have been together for a little over 1 year. We met at a concert last year, and man did sparks fly. This is a very complicated and nuanced situation for me, as it is something I have never wrestled with before, so I would like to provide some context before I dive into my AITAH background on her and us. She was married for 10 years, 2 kids, and separated for 8 months when we first met at the concert. She also lives 2 hours away, so this was definitely considered a long-distance relationship. After the first night, we continued talking and spending time with each other. We would text every day throughout the day, and phone calls at night. These texts and calls were always very reaffirming, supportive, lovable, and honestly quite the best experience emotionally I have had with another woman compared to my previous relationships. No one immediately locked anything down relationship-wise since we were new to each other and having fun. In fact, we both were not exclusive yet. She would come visit on weekends, and as time together continued we grew deeper in love and the sex was fire. Starting from the beginning, she identifies as queer/bi, which was always a bit interesting to me since she was married for 10 years monogamously to a man, but I am not here to judge. As things progressed, I needed to set some boundaries with her because of my fear of getting screwed over by the state laws. I am on my own and have suffered other state-related laws that have left me paranoid about my health and well-being, so I decided to do some research because during this LDR she was still is, married. The laws here state that the husband and wife need to be separated for a year before they can file for a no-fault and amicable divorce. Also, a separation is defined as living in 2 separate addresses for at least 1 year. She mentioned to her husband verbally that she wanted to separate 8 months before I met her. 1 month before I met her, the husband bought another house 2 houses down since they are co-parenting. Poor dude. My boundaries around the situation were, I need to remain anonymous to your husband and your kids until an official divorce is signed so that I cannot be framed for the alienation of affectation in the divorce. I will also not be a financial stepdad to the kids. She was very transparent with me about the situation and respected my boundaries, although she continued to mention that I was overthinking it and being paranoid. I mentioned yes, because I don't want to be screwed over by the state law, and from my research I have a lot to lose for something I didn't do. This setup and boundaries led to her mostly driving to my place, and I would drive to her place, maybe 3 times total, in the event that the husband/kids were completely out of town. Given the distance, I had no personal problem with commuting there. I just wanted to be safe and keep my butt protected from potential lawsuits. During the year, the relationship had been absolutely fantastic and nothing like I had experienced. She was very supportive of my work and hobbies, including stand-up comedy/music where I am constantly around people. The lovemaking was truly next level and we have a connection there that. Although I was not there with her in person every day, I was as emotionally supportive of her as I could be, and she really had a tough year. She was going through a divorce, her dog passed away, her mom passed away, and she was dealing with the financial stress of having to go back to work more now, plus the kids being a typical stress. She never asked me for money or begged me for anything, which was great. With the exception of distance, this continued to be a dream come true for me. Close to the final days, things started to get odd recently. I was scheduled to fly out to New York on an upcoming weekend for a comedy show I was booked on. I asked her if she was interested in going, and she was, but based off kids/co-parenting schedule it was during a weekend where she needed to be with the kids. Side note, I was always supportive of this and never minded competing with her kids for time with her. I am way more naturally attracted to a woman who is involved and in love with their kids versus an absentee mother. She would always share IG posts of bands that are at a local venue she frequents because we both share interest in music, and would always talk about how we must go to this place together one day, all of the stars align and there is a band we want to see. The Monday before my trip to New York she shared a post with a few bands she was so excited to see and she was so excited to go. She had shared that typically weeknight shows are tough, but she makes the ones that are high interest if she can. I was about to go out of town, and not see her for potentially 1 month since the co-parenting schedule was changing. With this in mind, I decided I was going to drive to the show after work and surprise her. I asked her if she had any friends going, but she claims she doesn't have many friends that are interested in this music, so she invited on friend who couldn't make it because it was last minute. She said she would bring her knitting stuff and watch from the back. I was talking to her on the phone saying, "That sucks that you have to go alone, I wish I could be there with you one day," while driving to surprise her, winky face. I arrived a little before the show, and my surprise didn't go entirely the way I planned. I was thinking she would be inside already, but she was leaving her car walking towards the venue while I was driving by to park, and we locked eyes and I was like, "Damn it, lol." She looked a little spooked, but either way I parked and got out and we kissed/hugged and she smiled and became happy that I was there. We walk in together, and as we are scanning our tickets with the door clerk, with whom my GF knows, my GF introduces me as, "This is my friend, my name." I was immediately turned off and confused. Friend? After a year of dating? In my mind I am like, "Yo, I am your BF, and to my friends and family I refer to you as my GF." We go to sit down and I ask if she, the door clerk, knows her ex-husband. I ask this, because that was the only acceptable case in my head as to why I would be introduced as a friend since we were agreed to be covert. I didn't get done asking and my GF corrected me and said, I was like, "What?" My GF said, "Door clerk's pronouns are they/them. I am like, okay. I was like, "Yeah, we can talk about that later, why didn't you introduce me as your BF?" She said she is still not comfortable calling me that and still warming up to things like that after her divorce experience. It felt like a kick in the heart, and it put me in a weird mood the rest of the night, because I felt taken for granted that I drove all that way only to be devalued. The final days. Originally I asked to come spend the night on a Sunday then drive home Monday to work, but the schedule for her didn't work out. She messaged me halfway through the week saying, "Babe, I have been thinking about you and this weekend a lot, do you want to come over Saturday after your show and spend the night into Sunday? I have to work Monday, but we could also meet somewhere halfway." Thoughts? Because this was again going to be the last time I would see her for a while, I decided that I can drive to her place Saturday night after my show and spend the night/Sunday there. That night she is sending me nudes and texts about how eager she is to see me and make love. She did this a lot when she was horny, and has been one of my favorite things, so I was for sure looking forward to it. I get there, we do the thing, then go to sleep. Wake up the next morning to breakfast and so far everything is hunky-dory. We go to a cafe where energy starts to shift and she is being very moody about my language. Something like, "You use these words always/never which are very absolute and leave no room for nuance, these are red flags." By this point I am thrown off because I use hyperbole when joking and doing comedy in everyday language, but the more important thing was this is the first time I have heard her use the term red flag. I kind of defend myself but also brush it off because it seems like it could be a mood swing because she mentioned she was about to start her period, so I decided not to get too invested. We go for a hike and she says, "Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something," and we go find a bench. To me, already fear those words lol. We sit down and she is kind of nervous. She puts her hand on my leg and opens with, "So I want to start by saying that I love you," to which I cut her off and say, "Oh Jesus, am I getting fired?" in a half-serious/half-joking tone which makes us both laugh. I said this because from my experience I predicted that with her opener and the famous leg/knee pat. She goes on to say that she wants to open the relationship to be QPR, queer platonic relationship, poly. As I am hearing her talk my mind is gong numb because I know this is the end. I am sitting on the bench feeling heartbroken and betrayed. I stay quiet the whole time to let her get her words out. When it is my time to talk I am still silent because I am processing. The first thing I said was, "This was planned." To which she responded, "What?" I said, we weren't supposed to see each other this weekend, but all of a sudden that changed, and you said you wanted to go on a hike clearly so we could be alone for this. What happened? What caused this? She communicated that she has a deep emotional connection with a friend and want to do QPR. I ask what that is because I am unfamiliar. She explains that it is a platonic relationship between two friends, and I would still be her primary partner, her emergency contact, as she put it. I ask, does this involve sexual relationship? She says no. I ask, does it involve kissing? She says no. I say, what does it involve? She says it involves romantic intimacy like dates and hand-holding, and sharing a deep emotional connection with someone. I start thinking and I ask, who is the guy, to which she responds, that is none of your business. This feels incredibly disrespectful, so out of rage I continue to think and probe. I recall that there is a guy, let's call him Bob, with whom she claims she kissed, and Bob had similar queer tendencies before her and I met. I decide to ask her, okay, without revealing his name, have you ever kissed this person before? I ask this because I was becoming certain it was Bob and wanted to see her reaction. She reacted pissed that I knew and responded, why does that matter? I said, it matters because how am I supposed to trust that this will remain platonic if you have a previously physically intimate connection with this guy? She reacted angrily and continued to say things along the lines of, I cannot believe that you are not supportive of me being queer. I thought we connected on so many nonconformist things. I decide to ask her, have you cheated on me with Bob already? She says, no, he is married. She kept insisting we should take a break and think about it. I was extremely resistant to this because I know what happens during breaks, and also she told me she slept with a guy during a break between her and her still not ex-husband. During this exchange she says the line, if the shoe were on the other foot where you were asking for an open relationship, I would be supportive of it, which I happen to know is false because one of our earliest dates included her getting jealous over a dream she had where I was with another woman. I guess she said things change, but still WTF. I decide to wait for a few minutes and I respond, look. I love you very much, but I am not interested in sharing you with other men. I consider your holes sacred and exclusive to me, and if that is what you want, we should break up. But I have no interest in sharing you. She reacted defensively still and asked if we could leave the park. She told me that my response was very gross and heterosexual and caveman-like, to talk about her holes and not sharing, to which I responded, you don't have to share the same values as me, but those are my values. We continue to talk in the car, where I told her that I love her more than anyone I have ever loved, and although I am against the proposal I am so unfamiliar with all of the words and terms that she threw around that I am willing to see if there is a middle ground that we can feasibly agree on. I tell her that I absolutely hate covert contracts, that thing that nice guys do, but I love actual contracts so that there is no confusion and so all parties know the rules. I was holding my ground and trying to be open-minded but firm because I wanted to see if maybe I was missing something regarding the girl I loved. She continued to shoot me down, be upset and claim I am unsupportive of who she is. This became a deep, sad, quiet car ride home back to her place. Well, I guess her husband's place since the dude owns both houses, poor guy. The vibe could only be coined as hushed and grim, like a nuclear blast just went off in my heart. Once back at the house she says, I need to go lay down, I am feeling awful, you can come cuddle with, but I am not in the mood for sex, to which I responded, yeah, me neither, and I could have guessed that. I will be up in a second. I spent some time on the couch googling all of the terms like QPR and poly and whatever other terms she shared with me. Perhaps I am ignorant, but the more information I perused on the terms the less it made sense. I go upstairs and lay with her and she is under the sheets crying with her hand in her forehead. She tells me she feels terrible and that this weekend was not supposed to be like this. She says she needs time to process everything, and that she just wants to spend the rest of the night with her kids when they get home and that she wants me to leave. I knew this was coming, I was already prepared to leave. One of the last things she says to me is, it really hurt when you said you are not, husband's name, when we were arguing. At least, husband's name, supports me and my choices, to me the lowest blow ever. So now I am lower priority than Bob, her queer QPR guy, and her ex-husband who evidently supported her choices so much she separated from him. I grab my stuff, go over to her and hug her and say, "I love you," then I leave. I knew this was the end when I shared my contract in the park, but it was so confusing. As I am driving away, I pass/see the ex-husband on his porch 2 doors down, and we don't exactly lock eyes, but we see each other as I am driving by. I think to myself, damn, I was trying to avoid you the whole time, but she got both of us, man. Perhaps we have more in common than I thought. I get home and go hang with some friends for dinner to try and get some comfort. I have some texts and missed calls from her about thanking me for the space and time to process. The call was to check in to make sure I at least made it home safe. I responded, "Home safe. Thanks." The final call. Although we never agreed to be on any official break yet, I spent the day after planning how to consolidate my feelings and prepare to break up. Although it kind of felt like we already did, we both needed time to process and grieve. I wanted to take this time to evaluate my thoughts and be certain that this was not for me, which was a hard process because this felt like out of nowhere and all of a sudden. We talked and I asked, "How are you feeling?" To which we both shared that we were feeling pretty shitty. She was being pretty avoidant about talking and telling me she is tired and needing to go to bed to hit the gym in the morning. I knew the avoiding was coming. I told her I want to share my feelings first before we hang up, and she says okay, but says she is tired and probably won't be able to provide much input. I start sharing how I felt betrayed, disrespected, used and taken for granted. Although she was tired, she immediately, and with energy, cut me off and said, "Betrayed? How did I betray you?" I explained that a few months in she said on a call that she wants to be exclusive with me. She calls me her soulmate. We tell each other we love each. Every time I enter her she says how perfect I am, and that asking to open up the relationship into whatever these terms are is direct compromise to my boundaries and to the monogamous relationship I thought we were both within. She continues to interject and say that she did say she wants to be exclusive, but things change and she has been queer all of her life and does not want to be locked in. She wants to be poly QPR and how upset she is that I don't support her or her identity/choices. To which I responded that I do support her and her identity, but if that is what she wants I need to support it without being in a relationship with her because it is disrespectful to me and it is not what I want/signed up for, so we should break up. She said, "Yeah, I thought we were more or less over yesterday, so let's have it be over." I started sharing my final feelings and thoughts and she cut me off again saying, "I am too old for this arguing, I am going to hang up now, bye," and then hung up. I am sitting there like, huh? WTF just happened? The final text. I get one final text from her that says, "I'm not interested in arguing. I'm sorry that your feelings are hurt, but people grow and change and that's life. You should look after yourself and know that I love you very much, but I'm not interested in a relationship in which I'm not allowed to grow and change. Take care of yourself." I am reading this just confused like what in the hell? I respond back, "I am not interested in arguing either. I was interested in sharing my feelings of disrespect, heartbreak, betrayal, and being taken for granted. I am okay with people growing and changing. In fact, I firmly believed we were growing and changing together. Clearly I was wrong. Talking to someone, Bob, behind my back with whom you claim to have a deep emotional connection with, in addition to a previously physically intimate connection with, is without a doubt emotional cheating. For me, this was sprung on me so abruptly and randomly that I'm under the impression that you most likely physically cheated on me as well, but I'll never know. This is devastating and absolutely terrible. Especially when you said you were exclusive with me. How would you feel if this was done to you? Either way, I get it, and it's felt like this during each time we've fought, where you are not interested in my feelings or boundaries at all, only yours. I support you and that's your life wishes, but as long as that's the case I am not sticking around. You take care of yourself too. She then removed me on all social media almost immediately. I then immediately scheduled a DR's appointment to make sure I have not contracted any STI/STDs from her, since I know at least I have been faithful and want to reassure I am still healthy. I started thinking about everything that was done and said the whole relationship, questioning, was all of it an illusion? Was I being played this entire time? I connected the dots that the door clerk knew Bob because Bob's band plays at the venue. Was that why she introduced me as her friend? Have her and Bob been there together, so she is trying to save face? She had kissed Bob before, and apparently she was at the concert alone when her and I first met because Bob flaked on her, so they were going to the show initially. She claims Bob was married, so there is no sex. But then another time she was going to go to a show of his. I said, "Is it weird that you are at a show of an ex?" To which she responded, "We are not exes because we never dated, only kissed. Plus his girlfriend will be there, so I don't think there is anything to worry about." Was Bob ever married in the first place? Did Bob ever have a girlfriend? Was Bob in the background the whole time? She said she started talking to him again recently, so did Bob convince her to ask about being open? She said she was uncomfortable when I surprised her at the concert, as she is in her comfort zone and doesn't like surprises. She also felt uncomfortable because her house was a mess, so she asked for me to plan and not surprise in the future so she has time to clean. Could this mean she needs time to hide things? AITAH for leaving when my GF asked for open QPR/poly relationship, or was the whole relationship an illusion that I couldn't see? Closing thoughts. I am not looking for closure, as over time I have learned that nobody will ever let you know when you ask the reasons why. I have no plans to ask for her back or to jump back in if I am asked. I am moving on, and to my own surprise doing okay. Unfortunately, I have a curious mind that jumps all over the place like a cat at 2 a.m. so please feel free to respond to my AITAH question, as well as any theories as to what you think happened. Do you think she cheated? Do you think what she did was right? Do you think I should have known what I was getting into? Feel free to say anything, even if it seems mean to me, because I can take it and am just curious and always looking to learn. I learned a lot from this experience about myself, which I plan to take forward into future relationships.